Hi, I'm Lisa. Do you ever hear native speakers making grammar mistakes? Is it okay to sometimes make grammar mistakes? Maybe you studied English for a long time and you know the grammar rules very well, but occasionally you hear some native speakers not following those rules. This is an important topic. These are questions that my students regularly ask me, and I'd like to give you my perspective on that in this video. You will meet 3 different Americans and 1 German person who is fluent in English. I asked them some grammar questions, and I want you to listen to their answer and their perspective also. I think this video will be really helpful to you. First, I'd like to tell you that I think it's very important for you to use correct grammar, especially if you would like to have a professional job, even native speakers. For example, I have a friend in Los Angeles. She applied for a job that she really wanted, and the company gave her a grammar test, and then they didn't hire her. Why? Because they didn't think that her grammar was good enough. She would be representing the company by writing email to clients and speaking on the phone to clients, and they only wanted to hire a person who used grammar really well. So, even though we will talk about some grammar mistakes that are considered acceptable today, I want you to follow the grammar rules of English that you have studied. That's very important. So keep that in mind as you watch this video. I decided to interview some native speakers in Los Angeles. Before the coronavirus started, I was at the YouTube studios. I decided to ask some YouTubers how they speak English. I gave them examples of some sentences, and I wanted to ask them which sentence sounded more natural to them. Which sentence are they likely to say? I wanted to give you an idea of how native speakers talk. I asked them the question about the verbs lay and lie. Have you studied those verbs? Do you know how to use them correctly? If you studied lay and lie in your grammar classes, then you know that lay is a transitive verb and lie is an intransitive verb. What does that mean, transitive and intransitive? Transitive means that you must have an object. Intransitive, there's no object. So for example, I lay something somewhere. So the something is the object. I lay the blanket on the beach. So to put something down or to place. I lay the box on the floor. To put. How about lie? With lie, there is no object. So you can say, I lie down on the sofa. I lie in bed, right? Now I would like you to hear how native speakers answered my question regarding lay and lie. The first people you will listen to are Brody and Cody, and they have a channel on YouTube called Hooray Perfect. And you remember Drake from my previous videos. I spoke to him also. And when I was at the YouTube studios, I also met Jeremy. Jeremy is from Germany. He has a very popular YouTube channel. He's got over 1 million subscribers, and I could see why he's successful. He specializes in talking about fragrances, different perfumes, and he gives advice about which fragrances you should buy. I recommend that you check out his channel. I've really been enjoying watching his videos, and I think it's interesting to get a perspective also from a non-native speaker who's fluent. Let's listen to their answers regarding lay and lie. Which sentence are you more likely to say? I want to lay down or I want to lie down?
I want to lay down.
I want to lay down, I want to lie down.
I want to lay down. I want to lay down.
Hi, what's your name?
My name is Jeremy Fragrance. I'm the leading fragrance influencer.
Oh, fantastic. Where are you from?
Germany.
Which sentence would you feel more comfortable saying? I want to lay down or I want to lie down?
I want to lay down.
What happened? I told you that lie is an intransitive verb and that you say lie down on the sofa, but everybody said I want to lay down. Why is that? And should you speak that way too? Is that a mistake? Why are people speaking that way? The grammatically correct answer is I want to lie down. But the truth is, very few people speak this way. Lay is what sounds familiar to people. Lay is what sounds natural. Let me explain what's going on. A lot of people get confused about this one. The past tense of lie is lay. That is very confusing already, right? And then lay and lie have such a similar meaning. So lie is an irregular verb. We say lie, lay, lain. Lay, we say lay, laid, laid. That's confusing, isn't it? So you could see how native speakers confuse that one. And maybe you confuse that one too, even though you learned it in school. So which one should you use? That's a question that I used to ask myself also. I used to say, lie down, and suddenly I realized I was one of the only ones who was speaking that way. But I'm a grammar teacher, so what should I do? I don't want to be the grammar police. The truth is, this kind of grammar mistake is becoming acceptable. It's what people hear, and it's what sounds natural to them. So what are we supposed to do? Should we be the grammar police, or should we relax about it? In my opinion, I think with this particular one, we need to relax about it. So the mistake with lay and lie is not considered a serious mistake. It doesn't fall in the category of other types of mistakes, for example, subject-verb agreement or verb tense mistakes. I believe you need to learn the verb tenses and not make those mistakes. Let's continue with the next grammar topic, less and fewer. Those are comparative forms of little and few. And you probably have learned that we use less with non-countable nouns and we use few with countable nouns. So for example, we say less money, less time, less water, less information. And we say fewer books, fewer friends, fewer cars, fewer words. And now let's listen to what our native speakers said about less or fewer. How about this one? There were less people at the party, or there were fewer people at the party?
There were less people at the party. That one I almost feel equally comfortable with. There were a few people at the party.
No, but I'm not saying few, fewer.
Oh,
so we're comparing, listen.
Less then. There are less people at the party.
Okay.
Yeah.
But otherwise you would say few, maybe few people.
Yeah.
Instead of fewer, you would say less.
Yes.
There were less people at the party last night. There were fewer people at the party last night.
There were, I would say, less people at the party.
Okay.
Less people.
I don't say fewer that much.
Yeah, I would probably go with there were less people at the party
Okay.
last night.
All right, great. Which one would you say? There are less people at the party, or there are fewer people at the party?
There are less people at the party.
Did you notice what Drake said about fewer? He said he really doesn't use fewer, but he does use few, just not the comparative form. So it seems that people just don't like to use the word fewer. I want to show you some very common signs that you will see in supermarkets. When you want to go to the fast lane, the express lane, when you have only a few items and you don't want to wait in the long line, you will see a sign, and the sign usually says 10 items or less. Well, that's not grammatically correct. There is one supermarket near my house that actually has a sign that says 10 items or fewer. It's grammatically correct. And take a look at some signs that I found where people are the grammar police. They correct those mistakes. Some people notice the mistake and they don't like it, so they cross out the mistake. I think that's really funny. And I came across a really funny image online. This is a typical grammar police situation. Take a look at this one. The old man is on his deathbed and he says, "I wish I'd made less mistakes." And the lady corrects him and she says fewer. That's a funny example of the grammar police. Most people say less, but a few people don't like that and they want to make sure that people speak correctly and they insist on fewer. But in general, you will hear people using only less for both countable and non-countable nouns in the comparative form. let's talk about one more grammar point, and let's listen to what native speakers say about it, and then we will also hear what Jeremy, the German speaker, says about it. And that point is there is versus there are. There are a lot of people here. There is a lot of people here.
There is a lot of people here, and most likely I would say there's a lot of people here. I wouldn't say is.
Which one would you say? There's a lot of people here, or there are a lot of people here?
I would say there's a lot of people here.
I would say the same. I would say there's a lot of people here.
There are a lot of people here, or there's a lot of people here?
There are a lot of people here, that's what I say.
So Jeremy, the non-native speaker, was the only one that was saying it correctly. Everyone else seems to say there is, and they say there's. I believe the reason for that is there are is kind of difficult to say because you have two R's in a row, there are, but the rule is we must use there are for plural and there is for singular nouns. I'm sure you know that, right? You will notice that in spoken language, most native speakers simply say theirs for plural countable nouns. So they'll say, there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of cars here. But in written English, people do use it correctly and they say there are or there were in past tense. In spoken English, in casual English, pretty much almost everybody says theirs instead of there are. I prefer to say there are, and there are some people that speak this way, but it's more difficult to pronounce all of those R's. For example, the word rural or mirror or murderer. These are words that are so difficult to say in English, and even native speakers struggle with them. And I believe that's why they don't say there are. They simply say there's. It's quicker, it's easier to say, and it's becoming a lot more acceptable to speak that way. In conclusion, I want to make sure that you understand that I'm not saying that it's okay to speak grammatically incorrectly. I'm only giving you examples of 3 different grammar points where native speakers don't necessarily use them correctly, and it's becoming acceptable. It's almost becoming correct because language evolves. So maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, it will be seen as correct. Language keeps changing. But for the other grammar rules that you're learning in your grammar classes, you must follow those rules. For professional success, it's important for you to be able to use the English language well, and I recommend that you keep working on your English grammar. And my final point is, don't be the grammar police. People don't like to be corrected, especially in public. But if they ask you a specific grammar question, you can give them the rule. But people don't like to be told, oh, that was wrong, you shouldn't speak that way. Thanks for watching, and keep practicing your English.